Thanks for listening to the Family Bible Journey podcast, where we are leaving the legacy of faith by journaling through the Bible. This is episode 261, season 1 of the Family Bible Journey Old Testament podcast. Today we're looking at Nehemiah chapter 4. The title of today's podcast is Worth Fighting For. And our key verses for today are chapter 4, verses 1 to 14, where we read, Now when Sanballat heard that we were building the wall, he was angry and greatly enraged, and he jeered at the Jews. And he said in the presence of his brothers in the army of Samaria, What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore it for themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they finish it up in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of rubbish and burned ones at that? Tobiah the Ammonite was beside him, and he said, Yes, what they are building. If a fox goes up on it, he will break down their stone wall. Hear, O our God, for we are despised. Turn back their taunt on their own heads and give them up to be plundered in a land where they are captives. Do not cover their guilt, and let not their sin be blotted out from your sight, for they have provoked you to anger in the presence of the builders. So we built the wall, and the wall was joined together to half its height, for the people had a mind to work. But when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabs and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the repairing of the wall of Jerusalem was going forward, and that the breaches were beginning to be closed, they were very angry, and they all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and to cause confusion in it. We prayed to our God and set a guard as a protection against them day and night. In Judah it was said, The strength of those who bear the burdens is failing. There is too much rubble. By ourselves we will not be able to rebuild the wall. And our enemies said, They will not know or see till we come among them and kill them and stop the work. At that time the Jews who lived near them came from all directions and said to us 10 times, You must return to us. So in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall and open places, I stationed the people by their clans with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles and to the officials and to the rest of the people, Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. This is the word of the Lord. Well, now that Nehemiah and the returned exiles have made some progress in rebuilding the wall, we are told, to half of its height, these enemies who were mentioned earlier in the book, they're starting to double down on their taunts and their threats, and they're actively conspiring. They are working to thwart everything that had been accomplished up to this point. And I have one of those words of wisdom sections on chapter 4, verses 4 to 5. It says, Evil always opposes good and God. And this is something that we as people of faith must understand. If you put your heart and mind to do something good for God, it is going to be opposed. Because Satan and our unholy and evil foes, even many people that we may love and appreciate and respect, who do not care for what we're doing or don't think that it is the Lord's will, whatever reasons they may have, Satan is going to do all that he can to raise up adversaries to the good work that God's people want to do on behalf of the Lord. And in light of this opposition, Nehemiah reminds the people that love is worth fighting for. That's my word of wisdom on chapter 4, verse 14. That we, as the people of God, recognizing that we are engaged in a cosmic struggle between good and evil, we wage war on the side of good, on the side of God. And it is going to be a battle. And it isn't always going to be fun. It isn't always going to be easy. People aren't always going to like us. It would be nice if they did, but that's not the world that we live in. And so in this chapter, we take heart with these men and women who are faithfully laboring on behalf of the Lord, on behalf of the place of worship that they had set to restore, and who were defending their own families, their friends, the people who lived in their neighborhood. And we're told in the closing verses of the chapter that as the work was resumed, that Nehemiah encouraged them to work with a weapon in one hand and a spade or a shovel or a trowel or a stone in the other. And we can imagine how much this would have slowed the work down. They had to be ready to respond at a moment's notice if they were attacked at any point along their perimeter, to fight and at least delay the aggressors long enough for their friends and family to come and help them fight in order to protect this holy city that they were endeavoring to restore because God himself had encouraged them to restore it. And so this chapter 4 of Nehemiah, it reminds us what is worth fighting for. God, his causes, the people that we love, our family, our community, all of these are worth fighting for. And so when we find ourselves doing the Lord's work and being opposed every step of the way, sometimes even by friends and foes alike, it is good for us to remember who it is that we are fighting for and why it is that we fight, that we may fight that good fight of faith encouraged by the love that fills our hearts, the faith that has been delivered us, knowing that when we persevere, when we persist in doing good, that others are going to see, they're going to notice, and they are going to be encouraged in their own faith walk as we simply endeavor to do our part and persist faithfully, fighting for family and friends and those that we love, but most importantly, fighting for faith in light of the love that God has shown us in his dear Son, Jesus. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and a special thank you to all whose financial contributions make this ministry work. If you would like to support our podcast so that others can be blessed by the Family Bible Journey as you are, go to our website, familybiblejourney.com, where you can make a one-time contribution, or better yet, become one of our monthly sponsors. Our blessing for today. When enemies arise against you, may God build a hedge of protection around your life. Amen.